welcome to the 5th episode of the TalkinTwenties Podcast featuring Dan and Joe. Today we'll be talking about the recent release of Tyreek Hill. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, one of the top wide receivers in the league. He's had some off-the-field issues, but on the field he's definitely a stud, and I think it only makes sense he goes back to Kansas City. The Chiefs are in need of a wide receiver.
Yeah,
he's getting older. He's getting older, I'll admit.
He's coming off an injury too, brutal leg injury.
Yeah, but with the technology nowadays, he'll be back and ready to go.
I agree, but I don't know. That it was terrible, injury. If you haven't seen it, I don't advise you to look at it. But he was the fastest player in the league, and loses his, key part of his game, his speed. That injury. Can he come back? Sure. Even though he's getting a little old. You think Kansas City? I'm thinking the Las Vegas Raiders.
See, with his off the field stuff, it would make sense to go to Vegas, But I think it either has to be Kansas City or Buffalo, dude.
Buffalo's
in need of a wide receiver. Keon Coleman likes cookies, and he's not.
Yeah.
He's on and off the field too.
Or I heard even Baltimore, the little Florida cat going to team up with Lamar.
Yeah, Lamar's not what he used to be though either.
Is Josh Allen what he used to be?
He had a great year until he that one pass he missed. You can't miss that in the NFL. But hey, time will tell where Ty Hill goes. He's still, even with the injury, he's still a top 10 wide receiver. So he will be. He's not going to be as fast. He's still going to be fast though.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, time will tell.
So now moving on to the next topic, sort of the elephant in the room, if you'll say. MJ, better known as Michael Jordan, was seen on video grabbing a young kid's shirt/pants. He was grabbing them like these. If you haven't seen the video, go watch it, form your own opinion. But what do you think about that?
So, first off, it's not right in any circumstance. No. I want to let that be known to the viewers. Very inappropriate move. On the other hand, though, I will say, he just won the Daytona 500. So, literally the biggest race in the world for NASCAR.
Yeah.
So, Jordan was extremely intoxicated, one could assume. I mean, he's the owner of a team.
I bet.
But where I have to finish that is being intoxicated does not make up for that act. Touching a kid in that manner should never be allowed. And honestly, he was my GOAT of basketball. Is that up in the air now?
Some are saying that it's taken him out the conversation. Now, me personally, after seeing that video and watching it a few times, just really trying to understand what he was doing, I've come to the conclusion that Jordan was just too excited. He had just won the Daytona 500. He was hammered, and while he was standing there, it felt like he did win the championship, but it felt like he was back in his Bulls days, right? He was standing there surrounded by all these different people, and the only thing in his sights was the young kid. And he got too excited, and he did what he did.
And you know what? I want to add another thing. That kid, it's his driver's son. He's probably like family to Jordan. Really, they spend so much time together. But that doesn't make it right. That should have never happened.
Because, and I also say, what is that? What is the driver supposed to do? Is he supposed to tell his boss, who is a billionaire, who's Michael Jordan, to, stop touching my son?
I bet the driver and the kid didn't even think anything twice of it until after the driver probably saw the video after celebrating, and then they had a problem with it. Because any father who cares about their child would not want a grown man touching their kid that way.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, people say that, the kid's shirt was wet, maybe from water or champagne, whatever. The kid's shirt was wet, and Jordan was just trying to grab his shirt and, kind of go like that to maybe, get some of the wetness off. I don't really see how that would work because, it's a shirt. It's cotton material. So if you get it wet, you're going to have to put it in the drying machine or, air dry. You can't just pull on it and make it dry, So I don't know how you can make that case. And considering how big Jordan's hands are, if he goes like that, it's a lot of surface area.
Can I interject here? Another thing too, if your argument is the shirt, Jordan could have grabbed the shirt of the kid way up here and went like that. His hands are massive.
Oh yeah.
He placed lower hand contact.
Yeah, and then he went for the legs. Come on, you could have gotten that kid a towel, or you just won the Daytona 500. I'm sure they had shirts made for the winners. They could have gave him a new shirt.
Yeah, I think when it boils down to it, I'm not going to jump and say, oh, Jordan's like Diddy. I'm not going to jump to that. But what I will say is you could pretty much assume he was intoxicated, got too excited, and he touched the kid inappropriately the way he shouldn't have.
I agree. And it doesn't make it right. I don't agree with it, but it's what happened. Again, we'll, let the viewers, decide, form your own opinions on it, watch it. But yeah. Now, a quick message from our sponsor, 999 Nutrition. 999 Nutrition's tactical grade pre-workout is here to get you through your workouts and everyday lifestyle. With 150 milligrams of caffeine per scoop, it'll give you that extra boost to get through your day.
Speaking of day, 999 Nutrition is offering the Training Day bundle for only $49.99. In that bundle, you will receive a bag, pre-workout, and wrist wraps. Go to 999nutrition.com today to get yours. Thank you to 999 for sponsoring the TalkinTwenties Pod.
Now back to the episode.
Thank you 999 Nutrition for sponsoring this video, the TalkinTwenties Pod. Moving on to our last topic, I just thought of another question. What do you want to be remembered for?
It's a great question. I want to be remembered amongst all the GOATs, in the respective aspects. I'm not going to mention basketball for, today and, some current events in the world, but, like Tiger Woods or, some of the actors in the world or, like Ronaldo, all those cats. So I want to be remembered amongst those. Maybe in like the fitness world, aspect. I want to be known as more like maybe like a physical therapist, personal trainer that trains like celebrities, athletes, high level players.
Okay.
I think that would be pretty cool to post a picture with like De'Aaron Fox, working out with him, right? Mm-hmm. Then the next day I'm in a whole different city, post it up with Lil Wayne and while working out. The next day I'm posted up with Timothy Chalamet and we're working out. That'd be pretty sick. That's what I want to be remembered for.
Okay. For one, I'm going to be more realistic. You're claiming to be remembered with the GOATs? Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Okay. I respect the shooting high to work with famous people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But even if you're a physical therapist for a lot of celebrities, you're not going to be remembered as one of the GOATs. You're not going to have a little kid in the class go, hey, y'all know physical trainer Joe?
You never know.
Come on.
Never know.
Now, I'm going to be more realistic. Here's what I want to be remembered for. I want to remember for someone that helped out in their community a lot and, made an impact in kids' lives and families' lives overall. And I want to be a teacher someday, and I want to coach sports at hopefully the high school and into the collegiate level. So
non-pro?
Yeah, non-pro. So I want to be remembered as someone that made an impact. I want to be remembered as someone that when I pass away, they go 5 years, 10 years down the line, they go, remember that teacher I had 10 years ago? Man, he was cool. He helped me out. He helped me learn things that I would have never thought I could do to take care of myself daily. Man, or coach, man, I miss my coach. My coach taught me all this. My coach used to talk ball with me. My coach used to help out my family. My coach bought me food after practice.
So you want to be like a John Beam or an Al Regini?
Similar, yes, for sure. I just want to be remembered as someone that cared for people and made a difference within their community.
Okay, so like Jason Brown?
See, I think Jason Brown did a lot of good for people, but I think it's the right message, wrong messenger.
Okay.
He's had some interesting things, but hey, you know what? You can never say he cared for his kids always.
Oh yeah.
But I just want to be remembered as someone that cared. That's really the main thing. I'm realistic. To make it to big time, power 4 football, and I think soon football's not going to have conferences anymore. But to make it to big time,
there'll always be conferences.
No, it's going to turn into Division 1 and FCS. It's going to split. But anyways, back to what I was saying.
There'll always be conferences.
No, back to what I was saying. Okay. Back to what I was saying. Yeah, I just want to be able to help people. Because for me, I received help from people growing up sometimes, and it made a big impact on me. And there's coaches and mentors that I've had that I'll forever remember. I'll forever remember my experiences. So yeah, I think that's good. It's reasonable, it's attainable, and I think I'm on the right path.
Okay, nice. So now, going back to what you said about college football and conferences.
Oh yeah.
You don't believe that in, let's say, 10, 15, 20 years from now, there'll be conferences in college football?
I don't think it's going to happen soon. I think it's going to be 20 years or more.
Okay.
But yeah, because
What makes you say that?
I'll tell you why. Okay, right now there's already a bunch of conference realignment. Okay, you see the schools making the jump, paying to get into conferences. Okay, and a lot of schools are doing it. And what's going to happen is eventually, look, there's tons of money in the world. Institutions like schools like Michigan, Florida, all those big schools, they got tons of money, right? Tons of donors. A lot of schools have donors, even smaller schools. Even liberal arts schools have donors. But guess what? Eventually, programs are going to get cut if they're not playing well. And what's going to end up happening is schools are going to keep going to places where they think they could play, but it's on the other side of the world. Some schools, they have money, right? But if you keep doing that year after year after year, the money's not endless. What about it? Unless you, here's the only way conferences will stay a thing. And I think this could happen within the next 5 years. If you make student athletes not have to go to school anymore, and it turns into AAA.
I could definitely see that happening. Yeah. For most college sports, not for all. I think
Football, basketball.
But then it'll be hard because it's like, how can you really pick and choose? How can you tell a kid, let's say like water polo, right? There's an athlete in water polo and an athlete in football. How can you tell the kid in water polo they don't have to go to school?
See, I might be wrong here. I don't know. I'm not very educated in water polo. I've heard of the sport. I know the basics. Is there pro water polo? I don't know.
I mean, there might be. Okay, let's talk about like lacrosse. I think there's a lacrosse league.
Yeah, there is for sure.
So, I mean,
is it one of the big programs like Notre Dame? Then hey, you know what? You might not need to go to school.
Maybe, but
guess what? If it's a sport like golf, hey, there's pro golf, but you got to be that caliber.
No, you do.
You can't take some kid that goes to George Fox and say, hey, I'm not doing school.
Yeah, no, I think the college landscape will go one of two ways. I think either it'll continue on the path it's on right now, or it's all about money, you know. So you'll have schools that are just putting all their focuses on maybe a few sports or whatever, and maybe conferences get thrown out the door. Maybe teams leave conferences, go independent, whatever the case may be. I think right now we're heading that direction where it's all about money. Or I think it could go a completely different direction, and we return back to what it was in the 2000s, the 90s, where conferences and native teams go back to where they used to play. So you have USC, UCLA, Stanford, Cal. They all play in the Pac-12 regional again. Then you have obviously the Southeastern Conference. You have teams that play in their region. I think there's a world out there where it goes back, and you talk about all these schools. The money's gonna go dry. They're gonna cut programs. Come on, I think obviously that will happen. Probably will happen. It has happened. But man, a lot of these schools, they have the money for that. But you know what they do with that money? They take it and they put it in their pocket, and then they cut the program. But that's my take on it.
I think I've respected the first part, where it's just going to keep being money oriented, which I think that anybody could think about that, and it makes sense. The second one, of where it's going to go back to regional, there's no way. The cat's already out of the bag. You got teams like Stanford and Cal going to Boston College.
I don't know.
I know a dude who played for a Cal sport, and one weekend he went to Miami, and then the next weekend he was at North Carolina. So you know what? It's all about money. It's just going to keep being money. It's all about money. I think if anything, between our two ideas of what we could see happening, I think what you're really going to see, I think the NCAA within the next 10 years is going to be out. I think you're going to see a new
I can see that sort of
sanctioned body,
sort of like PGA, and they went to the new
Live.
Yeah.
I think you can see it.
Or with boxing, I never kept up with boxing really too much.
Yeah.
But I figured that maybe in the 2000s, 90s, there was maybe one, company or brand that was like that was boxing.
Okay.
Now you have all these different promotion events. You could watch a boxing event starring like Jake Paul and whoever
on Netflix,
and then the next week it's like the two biggest fighters in the world on a whole different
on DAZN or ESPN Plus.
So it could be like that.
But you know what? I would have to. Let me get back to my topic. Is the sanctioning body? I'll admit, the facts are there. Football is the most productive school when it comes. Sorry, it's not productive school. Football is the most productive thing when it comes to making money for institutions. So you know what? Yeah, the sanctioning body would probably be headed up by a Nick Saban, some of these big-time college coaches that have legacies. But you know what? What else would be included in that sanctioning body? You would have a Rick Pitino, a John Krasinski. You'd have a bunch of big-time people, even onto baseball and soccer. I don't know big soccer names because I'm not a big soccer guy, but even onto baseball, you could see Ken Griffey Jr. being a part of a sanctioning body.
I think that if it did go that way, I think you'd see a lot of cuts in sports for every school.
Yeah, major sports would take over.
But I also do think that some of these major sports or major schools won't even offer sports really. They'll the way that they'll sanction it is so maybe like the top 50 or 60 schools only get to play in that sanctioned league. You're gonna have the LSU, the Ole Miss, you're gonna have the Texas, Florida, but then you're gonna lose schools that are prestigious, yes, like Boston College or Pitt.
Okay.
But you may see them get cut just because they're not bringing in the revenue.
See, where I have to disagree there is I think with that committee is because we're not just talking about football here. Yes, football makes the most money, but I think when you think about it strategically, guys that would be a part of that committee and females that would be a part of that committee who, big time coaches, big time administrators, they know what the old used to be like, and a lot of them miss the old days of what it used to be like. So I think what they would end up doing is I think they turn it back to your old point or one of your sub points is they would make it regional again.
I can see that.
Nick Saban would bring back some.
I don't think Nick Saban would run it. I think
part of it.
I think he might be.
He would be peer pressure.
I think he'd be the face of it, but I think he wouldn't be making any shots. It'd be someone that we don't even know, behind the scenes, pulling the strings, and it wouldn't be about legacy or maybe Nick Saban has his ties to Alabama. It would just be strictly about money at that point. And I could even see a world where college football specifically is cut from, not cut meaning taken away. I'm saying cut from these schools in the sense of, baseball, soccer, all these are going to be part of the NCAA, but football won't. Football will be its entirely own entity.
Well, that'd be the first thing to go is football. And that, I agree, that makes sense. But eventually, I think if let's say this...
Well, then it would just turn into NCAA Part 2. If every sport went. I think it'd just be for football. And it would turn into almost like an NFL sort of, where it's a league. It's a whole new league.
See, but then that goes back to there wouldn't be conferences, and it would just be open. I think what you'll end up seeing within 5 years is it's going to be football. Football definitely will be leaving the NCAA because schools that keep getting punished, like Michigan for John Harbaugh buying that guy a cheeseburger, or other people that have got in trouble, other schools. When you think about it, they're going to want to leave. They're going to leave soon because even with the calendar, the next year, the national championship ends like a week or two later. So guess what? The school semester is like 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in. And a lot of education systems, you got to get in with those first 2 weeks or they won't let you add classes.
Yeah, this year, 2025 alone was already ridiculous
Mm-hmm.
with how long the actual college football national championship was. Between the final and the semifinal,
yeah.
it was like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
And they waited to play too. Yeah.
Yeah.
What they're going to do is they're going to end up leaving. And it'll become
its own entity.
It's going to become the top programs play the top programs, and the bottom feeders will play, or not bottom feeders, but the lower level will play the lower level. So you might see. One second.
Yeah.
You might see a team from the MAC playing the team from the Mountain West, right? And then SEC will play Big Ten. Because you know what? That's the games everyone wants to see. Because SEC and Big Ten as their own are great conferences. The good games, always. But guess what? we don't have to wait for a playoff this way if Ohio State plays at Alabama.
I could see a world. Are you familiar with the Premier League in soccer?
No, I don't follow.
It's basically in England. It's their main soccer league. So they have the Premier League, which is, I don't know, don't quote me on this. Let's just say 20 teams, right? You got the greatest. At the very top, some of the greatest teams in the world: Manchester United, Manchester City, Arsenal. Then as you go lower, the teams obviously aren't that great. But then it gets the let's say the 20th team in the league. And then there's a whole new league, which is like League 2 or whatever. And it goes down or whatever. Then it goes to League 3. And it just keeps going all the way till like pretty much like, Sunday league, where it's like people that have their actual day jobs. And on Sundays they go and play for fun. But if that team gets good enough, then they can make it to the Premier League after years. I think we could see a scenario in which college football turns into that, where it's, you have the top 30 teams from, let's just say LSU, all the way to the bottom 30th. And it's like, I don't know. What would be what would be like the 30th best team?
Of what? The
College
conference?
football, just in general, right now.
30th best team? Army?
Okay, so it'd start off at, let's just put Georgia at number 1, right? And Army at 30th. That'll be League 1. All of them can compete for the national title. Then you have League 2, which is every team that's not as good as Army below. And that'll go on from the 31st best team to the 60th best team. Then it'll go down. And now, if Army's the last team, they get sent down. And the 31st best team that win their league, they get moved up to the actual big boy league. I think we could see a scenario like that.
See, I think if you want to go even further, what we could see is back to my whole AAA point, kind of with baseball. They got the affiliations. Teams buy the affiliated teams. Like big clubs buy affiliations, and I think what you could end up seeing if college football does turn into AAA is, or even the college basketball, whatever other sports, is you could see. So right now, there's Cal Golden Bears, Duke Blue Devils, Michigan Wolverines. I think what you could end up seeing is subsections. And let's say Cal's baseball team is now known as, or football, whatever sport. Let's say Cal's now known as just the Cal Bears. So that could be a AAA team, or in that theory of AAA. And they could be bought by a different university. Let's say St. Mary's College buys the Cal Bears, like the rights to it. Then you could see that, and then guess what? A new organization is bred out of Cal, and they could be known as the Cal Golden.
Yeah, no, it'll definitely be interesting.
It's crazy. I mean,
it'll be interesting to see what transpires over the next 20 years.
Money is insane. The times are insane. I mean, look at within the last 5 years since they've changed the format to the college football playoff. I think that's how long it's been, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, about.
Think about that.
Oh,
Or is it 4 years? 4 or 5?
Talking about the playoff?
Yeah.
With the 12 teams?
Like because before it was the BCS, and then they switched it.
Yeah, I think it was probably like 2016, 17?
Okay, something like that.
Maybe.
Anyway, something like that.
Before that?
6, whatever. So around 6 or 8 years. So I think times change quick. Within 10 years, it could easily, one of our theories could happen of AAA or no conferences or money going towards it, and they become separate entities in school. I think that's the number one thing that's going to happen. I think soon here you're going to see colleges will not require athletes to go to school.
Yeah, you'll see a separation of football and school, similar to how separation of church and state. It'll be like that.
I would have to go further. I wouldn't even say just football.
Sports and school.
You have a good point. They're not going to want to be able to not have to go to school, but football can or baseball can. Those people that play volleyball or track, they're not going to want to go to school if they choose so. So I think that's where it's going to be difficult, is you're going to see a lot of players or a lot of athletes, student athletes, choose to play just sports, especially if they're going to go big time or they believe they can. But then you're also going to see it where athletes still want to go to school because they know I'm not making it big time or there is no big time league. So then at that point, what do? Let's say a kid comes out of high school, five-star kid, highly recruited in football, comes out, doesn't really play 2 years, hits the portal 3 times because that's what it is now, and then guess what? He's on his senior year. He didn't go to college, so he's nowhere near a degree.
Yep.
And he has 2 years left until he's just a bum on the street, really.
And then
you can't let him go take classes now.
And then you also got to look at, let's just say there's a separation of school and sport, right? It'll obviously start with football. Football will be, a moneymaker. It'll succeed. Then you have some of the lower end sports. You have, water polo, swimming, some, badminton, tennis. Some of these sports that don't get all the money they need. They have individual donors, but they receive a lot of money from the NCAA itself. With Title IX, all these different things. So now, if they switch over to a separate entity, and that entity doesn't give them the money, they just have to rely on individual donations, you're going to see a lot of these sports start to just fall off. And now, schools that, offered 70 sports, well, then they might not even offer any if it switches, if there's a separation. But you could see some of these sports may be extinct.
I like that point. I was thinking about it. If school and athletics were separated and it was down to what makes the most money for the school or for the team or whatever, and who brings in the most money, you could see, and if it's in a new conference, because NCAA, it's your division, like 1, 2, 3, is all determined by how many sports you offer on the varsity level. So let's say the biggest money makers for Texas is girls softball, football, and baseball. Those 3. You could see big time universities, even small schools, take all the funds and put it into those 3 schools, those 3 sports. And then what about all those athletes that are out of luck now? They're about to play club.
Yeah.
And even then, if school and athletics are separated, what is making the school still put money towards club sports?
Yeah, exactly. And then besides sports, what would be the incentive to go to these schools? Obviously, you get a degree and whatnot, but a lot of these kids go to school because they play the sport.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get too far into the future or too far into not a conspiracy, but maybe just forward thinking. Could the separation of school and sports lead to the demise of schools in general? Because if you separate schools from sports and colleges no longer offer athletics, we've already seen the rates of where people are starting to not go to college, not go to school. They view college as, a scam. Are we going to see colleges start to lose money? Because sports bring in a lot of money. And with the donors too, I don't know.
See, I think that's where you'll see, because right now, private schools have donors. They don't get money from the country or the state. I think where you'll see is any federally funded school will thrive still because they still get money from the government. And then the sport will be its own thing. So you'll see a San Jose State still give academics a good amount of attention while sports still go up. You know what I mean? But I can also see it. I can see your point of where it could affect the other way. Because let's say you're at a school that has a lower population. We're not talking about a big D1 school now. Let's say we're talking about
North Dakota State.
No, they have a lot of money, and they're D1. They're big time D1.
We're talking about D1s or D2s?
No, D2s. Because D2s can give athletic scholarships.
Okay.
And they can be federally funded. Let's say a D2 is federally funded. You might be able to get a lot of money there, but then let's go, and school and sports will still be fine in a way. But then you go further, D3, which most D3s are private institutions. So then the donors donate to get most or almost all the money to that school. So then when you think about it, if the donors go, because donors want ROI, which if you don't know is return on investment. And a donor, if I'm a donor and I'm giving, let's say, the school $1 million, and I want 500,000 of that to go to football or baseball or basketball, if I'm not seeing them win championships or compete at a high level and make my school that I attended proud and, kind of build legacy, then guess what? If school and sport is separate, I'm just going to donate to sport now.
And then it'll be a trickle-down effect, because now are JUCOs going to be separated within school and sport? If they are, that's gonna lead down to the high school level now.
You know what? I like the way we're going here.
I do.
it's a really harsh topic to talk about because a lot of athletes don't make it to that 4-year university level.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think regardless of what happens, I think next 10 years, junior college football won't be a thing anymore. Not even football, junior college sports.
Yeah, and I'll even go as far to say it'll trickle down so much. High school sports won't be what they are today. You're not going to see schools offer, tennis or volleyball or field hockey or whatever they offer nowadays at some of these schools. You won't see them because they won't.
I got another idea. You know what else would happen? Once they see colleges do it and sport and schools separated, and then what's going to happen is 4-year universities are going to start doing that. Mm-hmm. And if they see success, junior colleges are going to start doing that. And then guess what's going to happen? It's going to work down to the high school to where they start doing. Obviously, almost every state requires a high school diploma. I think every state
I don't think
for a kid.
I don't think high school and sports.
It can't separate.
I don't think it'll separate.
But the funding will go down.
But I don't think schools will offer as many sports as they do.
To go even a step further in this, if public institutions that are federally funded start getting separation of sport and school, guess where the funds from teaching in classroom and libraries are going to go to if these universities have big time football, big time baseball, big time basketball, big time volleyball? Guess where all that money is going to go?
Where?
The sports.
Oh yeah.
So then guess what? We're in 2026 right now. Let's say this happens 2032. Say it happens 2032. Mark my words. If this were to happen, within 8 years after the fact, school quality and the teaching quality would go so down.
It will plummet. Yeah.
That going to college would be completely irrelevant. You would be better off learning a trade if all the funding was taken away from education, essentially. You'd be better off learning a trade and going to go be a plumber.
I agree. 100% agree. And, with all that, I think we will wrap it up there.
Man, this was probably the most fun one yet. We
really
veered off a little bit.
But it was good. I think that was our, we had some good topics, for sure. But I think this was our best conversation we've had.
Oh, yeah. Because things like this, we were hypothetical with it. But guess what? At least football alone, leaving the NCAA is really less than 5 years out. And that's actually
true. It may
true.
seem like a crazy idea, but once you really break it down and you start thinking about it,
the world's about money.
It just sounds more realistic the more you talk about it. So,
because right now we're both in college. We're both getting college degrees. We both go to schools that receive funding from the government. But guess what? If sport and school is separated, where's that money going to go? Because ultimately, the government, just as any other entity, wants ROI.
Mm-hmm.
So if the government is giving, money to schools that win in sports compared to compete high in academics, you're already seeing AI take over some jobs.
Oh, yeah.
So then guess what? They're going to pay the sport a lot of. I would say if funding's eliminated, there will be about 12 majors or degrees in the world, like types that will matter. Outside of those,
I think
you're better off.
I think the separation of school and sport could be the demise of future America.
I agree, because not everyone's going to make it pro, and there can only be so many pro leagues.
A very small percentage.
Look at football, for example. You've had the UFL, the XFL, the NFL, the NFL Europe League. We had a coach in high school who played in that.
Oh, yeah.
Great man. But you know what? He didn't make it to the big time NFL, so he didn't make the big bucks. So he had to go get a daytime job. What's going to happen when all these college kids that, by then, if all the funding goes to sport, every sport that is there is going to have decently sized NIL checks. So kids are going to make money playing sport. And in the time, it's, oh, cool, I get $5,000 a month to play my sport. I get to play volleyball and make $5,000 a month. It's cool. $60,000 a year, that's good. That's a lot of money. But then guess what? Once those 4 years in, and you don't make it professionally in whatever sport you do that's getting funded, what? What is it? McDonald's, Costco? Pick yours.
Yeah. No, that's real. That's real.
So, yeah, great talk. I could go on. We could go on for another hour about these hypotheticals, but we'll end it here. Thank you.